Now, this proposed budget, and I know you've just had a chance to start looking at it, this proposed budget rises to the great challenges in our community and also in our pocketbooks. Public safety is my top priority, and a larger percentage of the general fund is dedicated to these departments than ever before. In this budget, I'm proposing that every active officer continue working, despite a steep decline in general fund revenues. This can be done, and tonight I'm here to tell you how. The fund is much smaller, but the police force level is going to be maintained. Before this latest Great Recession, the City of Flint's general fund had an annual revenues and initial general fund budgets of approximately $70 million on an annual basis. Today, this proposed budget projects next year's initial general fund revenues to be less than $50 million. This represents approximately a 30% reduction. Over half of this reduction is attributed to decreases in state revenue sharing. And long term, this has to be corrected. The state needs to invest in local communities, and I will advocate for those changes. But today, we must face the harsh realities that are before us. On top of the revenue reductions, rising healthcare costs and increasing pension contribution requirements are taking millions more right off the top before they're available for any actual services. The City of Flint today has less than 800 employees, but we pay every year for 3,000 retirees. The city pays $2 million a month, approximately, for retirement health care costs across all funds. The increased annual pension costs in the police and fire departments, both civilian as well as our officers, alone are over $2 million. That's $2 million right off the top next year that won't be available to pay for an active duty officer who can take 911 calls every night. So many other changes are necessary to make up for that loss and many others, because regardless of these past problems, regardless of the irresponsible shifts that are being forced on us in Lansing, here in Flint, I was elected to do a job. I have a responsibility to support public safety and have the largest force that we can afford. Again, I'm proud to announce tonight that there are no public safety layoffs proposed for next year, and there won't be any in this budget year either. Overall, the public safety departments and the general fund have been protected from the deepest increases. This is part of what makes this budget balance possible without continuing layoffs. The percentage of the general fund dedicated to public safety, as I've always said, police, fire, 911, 68th District Court, and the law office, is actually higher than ever. It's 72% of the general fund. Other general fund departments have much less to work with, and you see that reflected in the personnel summary as you go department by department. But this is what has to be done. Now, other grants and funds also contribute to the prevention of public safety layoffs. There are actually more than 60 public safety officers who are working under grants that were competitively awarded to my administration. These total more than $6 million on an annual basis. I said we'd bring grants to this city, and we've done it. $6 million on an annual basis. That's approximately 2/3 of the general fund property tax revenues contributed by taxpayers all across the city. 2/3 of that amount is being brought in through competitive grant dollars. Firefighters, police officers, they're providing a critical service to our community. These federal, state, and private investments represent the confidence and partnership that my administration has with the White House, federal department heads, Lansing, and foundations. This confidence is critical to our community to get out from under these shadows of the past. I pledge that my administration will continue to pursue grants and partnerships with our federal and state and local law enforcement agencies to get every available dollar for public safety. Now, the millages are important too. I'm asking every voter in Flint to support the police millage so that these officers can continue to serve. This fund is important to our police and safety. Vote yes on that millage. On the May ballot, this is a renewal and not a tax increase. Now, I'm also asking every voter in Flint to support the jail millage. This will assist our police officers, keep our community safe. It'll put officers back to work above the levels projected in the budget. So the millage funds are not projected in this budget proposal since that's not yet been approved. So within the general fund budget that you have, you'll see that there will be contract concessions to offset the smaller department budget sizes. With new laws, it's no longer a question of layoffs versus concessions. The concessions will be made, and the sooner the better. Now, the proposed public safety department budgets are at the level necessary to keep officers working, even with their concessions, because of the deep restructuring and cuts in other areas. I hope the council understands how this is related. Preventing layoffs and making public safety the highest priority depends on council cooperating with deep and difficult changes in other areas. The budget proposal depends on restructuring out the Civil Service Commission, the Ombudsman Office, the Human Relations Commission, the general funding portion, so that those dollars are available for public safety. We have had to do so much just to get to this point, but we must move forward with this difficult path. As a reminder of what has been done to address this budget challenge that we've continued to face, there have been dozens of cost-saving measures that have been put in place. We've reduced the pay of elected officials, including myself. We're scheduled to do increased contributions towards health care. Department heads have had days without pay. There's no longer a receptionist in the mayor's office. Communications is done on a part-time basis with no benefits. Positions have gone unfilled in the finance department and other areas. Maintenance and cleaning costs have been reduced. Hours at the senior centers have been reduced without overtime. The law department has cut out outside lawyers and instead doing the prep and trial work themselves. Lawsuits have been negotiated for reduced settlements. New lawsuits have been prevented through better personnel management. Parks personnel who have retired, their positions haven't been filled. And the Adopt a Park program will be started. Police mini stations are now staffed by volunteers. City Council ward funds have been cut. Chief Locke is filling the position of the Director of Public Safety, overseeing both police and fire departments. Overtime is limited. The list goes on and on. These are the changes that we've had to make. The biggest savings actually came from two of our unions, our two national unions, representing more than half of the city's workforce. They agreed to double-digit concessions, and the cost savings in those new contracts are now being implemented. And these changes will further improve this year's projected bottom line. These are the kind of changes that keep workers working and keep the services in the community. Now, through all of this, the four public safety unions have been unwilling to accept serious double-digit concessions, and their costs per officer have gone up and up and up, and this doesn't account for the increased costs in their retirements. So now, under the new state laws, the delays in these expired contracts are just about over, and their fair share of concessions need to be implemented by the start of the new budget year at the latest. This is all to help the police and fire departments themselves. Other grants and partnerships have already been brought in to support what otherwise would be general fund services in areas such as master planning, code enforcement, parks maintenance, forestry, recreation centers, senior centers, and even the legal department. Everything possible is being done to protect and support the funds necessary for public safety services. But there's still more. The budget proposal also depends on council supporting the adjustment of fee rates so that the fees are set at the actual cost of providing the service. This could bring in more than $1 million to the general fund. In the coming months, there are other adjustments in designated funds that need to be made to address their historical structural deficits that have required general fund subsidy. We'll start with the sanitation department. The operations of the sanitation department are being reviewed under the terms of the labor contracts now. The current operation cannot be sustained for another full year at the current cost level. This year's general fund subsidy was not nearly enough, and long-term, we just can't afford it. The same is true of the golf fund. Going beyond what is proposed in this budget, I will be recommending the transfer of 2 former golf courses into the general Parks and Recreation program. The existing operations of Swartz Creek and Kersley courses are also under review, as is the sanitation department, to bring that fund fully into balance long-term. As council members, you're well aware that the Public Improvement Fund will be taking on the burden of repaying the bond. Again, this was done in order to shield the general fund from the necessary payments against that long-term operating deficit. And there's still more that we're going to have to do. Managing all of these challenges is a complex and it's a difficult task. And again, I want to commend my leadership team, the city administrator, and the finance director for their hard work. I hope the public tunes into this so that they understand what is being done, what the real facts are. I think the public needs to be able to follow what is happening with their tax dollars right here at City Hall, and we may need to make it easier for them to do that. So towards this end, the city will be producing a citizen's budget guide and a dashboard of key community indicators. This will help inform the public and will also qualify the city for the new proposed state revenue program. By showing how Flint City Hall is transparent, cutting costs, and looking at shared services such as the Water Authority, we could actually qualify for more state revenue than is projected in this proposed budget. This would be good news for our community because we'd be able to make our police force even larger. There are some important indicators of progress in stabilizing the city's finances. We'll be getting into these details as we work on this over the next couple of months with you. Remember that next year's proposed budget revenues decline almost entirely because of the state cuts and the loss of the stimulus funds. And some of this we can actually bring back in. Many of the long-term retirement costs can also be addressed under the new state laws, and this will put us in a stronger position in the future to focus on immediate services. The same goes for making the charter change to reduce the number of city council members and appointees. These are long-term changes that can pay off year after year. Now, just looking at our local tax base, the city's own property tax projections show a modest decline, but income tax projections are actually stabilizing and potentially increasing over this year's initial projections. The new buildings on Clyde Road, North Saginaw, South Saginaw, and across the city are all going to make a difference. The rebound of General Motors is paying off. The expanded community and economic development and housing work will be paying off. The cleanup of Buick City will be paying off. And dealing with old problems like the Genesee Towers will pay off for our community. All of these efforts are going to pay off for us. This is why I believe, despite these tough numbers, that Flint has a bright 21st century future, even though these days and nights are tough now. It's why I believe that this city can be a place again where every child, every student, every family, every business, every worker has real opportunities. We've got to focus on our community. Not about how these funds, how these things have been done year after year, back through the years. Everything we do here has to be about putting the citizens first. And that's what this proposed budget outlines. I've heard it, you've heard it. The public wants us to focus on public safety. This is what you did as you worked through your budget revisions last year. And I didn't veto them because I think you did the right thing. So we've had to go even further. We've had to look at the charter. We've had to look at departments that historically we haven't wanted to look at. But that's what it's going to take for us to take a $10 million cut right on the chin and provide this community with the public safety services that they depend on us for. So I look forward to working with each of you, council members. I look forward to hearing from the public and with their input and their new ideas as we work on adopting a final budget for fiscal year 12 over the next couple months. The Finance Director is here, as he normally is, to take any questions you may have, and certainly any further referrals or questions that you have for the City Administrator or I, we'll take through the regular referral channels. You'll have your regular meetings. He'll be in attendance. We can have the conversations that we always do. So thank you for your attention tonight.